I was in chemistry class, learning about covalent bonds or something, I don't remember, when I approached one of my classmates, let's call him Alex for privacy reasons, with an idea. I wanted to start a game where we, the students, elected a democratic government with a president and a vice president. This was how it was going to work. Firstly, there would be a constitution. 1. Everyone gets one vote. 2. Every month, there shall be an election for the position of president. 3. All elections, referendums and voting shall be managed by the host. That's me. 4. The president shall appoint a vice president. 5. Only the president and vice president may propose new laws, which will be voted on by the people. 6. Normal laws require a 50% majority to be passed, amended or removed. 7. Constitutional laws require a 66% supermajority to be passed, amended or removed. 8. The president may only be re-elected once consecutively. And 9. The vice president may only be reappointed once consecutively. Now, the constitution was pretty bare bones, that was kind of the point, and its open-endedness could lead to laws being passed mandating we all beat each other up, smuggle drugs into school, or blackmail each other. So, to prevent that from happening, I also had a set of irreversible laws that were, practically speaking, set in stone, with one of them being that laws, decisions and actions must not affect real life. I didn't know it at the time, but I'd inadvertently set up an experiment similar to the game of Nomic, a game invented in 1982 by Peter Suber. In that game, a player would win by becoming the first person to accumulate 100 positive points. How players did that depended on the rules of the game. By default, it was by accumulating points by rolling a die every turn, but players could propose changes to the rules, including how the game was won, when it was their turn. When a player submitted a proposal, all of the players would vote on it, and simplifying it a bit, if the proposal received a majority of votes, it became a new rule of the game. The difference between my game and the Nomic game, however, was that mine had no theoretical endgame. There was no specified way to win. As such, I had no idea what the end would look like. That didn't stop me from spitballing some ideas though. As I canvassed friends and acquaintances to join the experiment, I gave them some ideas for what they could change. Laws. What laws were they going to pass? Civil rights, democratic reforms, the Enabling Act of 1933. Immigration. What were they going to do with new people joining? Economy. How is money going to work in this society? Do we need an economy in the first place? As more and more people joined the official WhatsApp group chat, they began inundating me with questions. Is the host allowed to vote? No, I must stay politically neutral. What voting system would be used? We'll decide that later. Is the host allowed to remove people from the group chat? What if other voters cause riots and sabotage the presidency? Firstly, I won't remove people from the group chat unless they're actively ruining the game for everyone else, like constantly spamming in the group chat or something. Secondly, riots? Sabotage? Yeah, no, that's impossible. You can pass a law making yourself an internal president, but you still have to get that passed legally. Nominations for the Republic's first ever presidential elections opened up, and the deadline for nominations was set at midnight Friday the 10th of February 2017. I later changed it to Thursday the 9th because I was getting way too excited to get started now. Luckily for me, I didn't have to wait that long. A player called Nikita was the first to file his candidacy. Running under the banner of the Moderate People's Union, he and his deputy Daniel ran on a platform of legalizing everything that doesn't harm others. The self-described centrist party then unveiled a manifesto promising votes for all, freedom of speech, and the right to bear arms. Guys, I don't think you're allowed to do the last one in school. They also promised free state-funded healthcare for taxpayers only. If you're a foreigner, you have to pay. The legalization of all drugs, a points-based immigration system to incite high-skilled migrants, and the use of violent criminals in scientific experiments. Wait, what? In opposition to the Moderate People's Union was the self-styled Social Democrat Ludi. Leader of the Red Torgy Party, she ran on a platform of creating new jobs for everyone, including grammar police, meme makers, and Nikita harassers. Actually, harassing other political parties seemed like a great idea as well, add that to the list. She also proposed that all migrants be required to take a citizenship test, that a new monarch be crowned, and a new Educated Vote Act to restrict the right to vote only to those considered quote-unquote educated. Then there was the Duracell Party, a single-issue party banning drugs that was founded by Alex for the Bants. As they never bothered declaring their political alignment in the first place, I wrote that they were a frivolous, open bracket, joke, close bracket party in the official Google Doc for the game. With players settling down, it didn't take long for the politics to converge on two major parties. Early opinion polling suggested that the presidential election was going to be a two-horse race between the Moderate People's Union and the Red Torgy Party, and this convergence was no accident. Behind the scenes, there was some backroom horse trading. Players began sequestering themselves in private group chats and hopping into each other's DMs as they negotiated details such as what laws would they pass and what jobs they would get. When Pak Choi, another prospective candidate, set out his intentions to run for the presidency and form the left-wing Red Union Party, Ludi acted swiftly and urged Pak Choi to join her party instead. After some discussions, the two parties merged, and the Red Torgy Party became the Red Torgy Union. With their power bases consolidated, the two major candidates began duking it out. Nikita treated the group chat like it was a professional debate stage and began making long, verbose speeches about what the moderates would do if they came to power. We must first ensure the security of the populace by investing in the cleanup of organised crime. Then we will reform industry to grant more power to the workers. Sounds like the USSR to me, Ludi heckled. Where's the money coming from? Taxes, people, and they're not funding the vital meme economy. Taxes will be 30% of all earnings, no matter your wealth, Nikita continued. We will also invest in the defence industry and ensure that our great land is self-sufficient, which would in turn create wealth and jobs. Do you want a crooked, Stalinist dictatorship? Ludi asked the chat. Do you want to vote for people who cannot spell? Crooked Nikita from the Crooked Moderates is telling crooked lies, she exclaimed. Lock him up. As Ludi and Nikita traded textual blows, the group chat morphed into a battleground of meme warfare. And by meme warfare, I mean there was a full frontal assault on anyone with a working pair of... oh my god. Your memes are shit, said Nikita. All of this led to a problem. As this was happening on one WhatsApp group chat, anyone who had the misfortune of being absent for a few hours was now greeted by hundreds and hundreds of new unread messages. If you had notifications on during this period, good luck trying to get any homework done. People, struggling to keep up with the politics of the game, began to leave the group. This alone wouldn't have been a problem were it not for the fact that WhatsApp also publicises every instance of a person leaving. Thus, if you were already on the fence about the whole Republic experiment thing, now you were reminded that you could actually just leave the game. And so one exit became two exits. This was now a crisis. I had spent so much time in and out of class trying to convince my friends to join this experiment, and now it was under threat of being blown up before it had even started. If the rate at which people left continued as it was, I'd be left with no Republic. I'd be stuck with an empty group chat with Ludi and Nikita constantly squabbling with each other about whether they handmade their memes or whether they stole them from somewhere else. There had to be a solution, I thought. This wasn't the first time I'd run a democracy experiment. I previously founded the Roman Empire on a retro version of the game Habbo Hotel. So, perhaps drawing upon my previous, some would say authoritarian, instincts, I chose to act decisively. Okay, announcement, I wrote in all caps. I'm calling for a temporary suspension of posting pictures. I'm getting fucking bombarded with them. A few minutes later, I came back with something more formal. I was issuing an executive order. Temporary suspension of pictures in group chat, the order began, commences on the day of its proclamation. For the well-being of my citizens, I order a temporary suspension of posting pictures, photographs, posters, and memes into the group chat. Violation of the suspension will incur a maximum penalty of exile from the nation. 6 minutes later, I issued a second, more far-reaching order. Temporary suspension of communal discussion. Be it enacted by the host as follows. All discussions are banned from the group chat. The host will allocate specific times during which laws, political debates, etc. can be discussed. Only announcements and other permitted forms of posts will be allowed. Thank you for your cooperation. For the keen-eyed among you, you may have noticed a giant question surrounding these two orders, namely, where did my authority to pass these orders come from? On the surface, these orders seemed like a clear violation of Section 6 of the Constitution. Normal laws require a 50% majority to be passed, amended, or removed. Neither of the orders were voted on in the first place, and so neither met the requirements under Section 6. If there were any quibbles about whether these were laws in the first place, my messages calling them as such would have probably diffused those objections. Even if the orders were voted on, I'd also have to contend with Section 5 of the Constitution, which stated only the President and Vice President may propose new laws, which will be voted on by the people. I was neither the President nor Vice President, so I would have never been able to propose new laws to be voted on in the first place. With the benefit of hindsight, and a bachelor's in law, and a master's in law, specialising in, among other things, comparative constitutional law, the question is answerable. Section 3 of the Constitution stated that all elections, referendums, and voting shall be managed by the host. If you interpreted the words elections and managed generously, you could argue that I had the power to issue regulations on how an election was held, which included not just setting up the polls themselves, but the campaigning period before it. But 16-year-old me didn't have the benefit of hindsight, nor an LLB, nor a BCL, so the most likely explanation I would have given if challenged was, fuck you, I'm the host. It came as a relief then that no one seemed to notice the questionable authority of the orders, and instead expressed support that their group chats weren't going to explode again with another 100 messages from desperate party leaders. Can I post one more poster? Nikita asked. No, or exile, I responded curtly. I beg you, please, O Lord and Saviour, I bow before thee. Rules are rules, Nikita, Alex snapped. Sad. Me is sad. With my edicts promulgated, the number of messages in chat died down. People could now reasonably keep up with all of the events that were happening in the burgeoning republic. With that, we all had a good night's sleep. I prohibited the posting of images and have constantly warned you. One further violation results in the invalidation of your candidacy. You will be allocated a time when you can spam memes and debate. Time for my terrorism to start. Oh shit, boy. Bomb emoji, bomb emoji, bomb emoji, bomb emoji, bomb emoji. Boom! Boom! And people are voting for this guy, shaking my head. TCP for the win! Please stop. Oi Daniel, how goes the survey? Vote for the MPU on Friday. What survey? Vote here. Here it is so far. How do I vote on it? What's the link? Thanks. I voted. Whoop whoop. Red Union Tory Party is winning! Barely. Alex, you can't win. Join us. One of us. One of us. Ooh, so fucking close. One of us. One of us. Trolligarch! Pak Choi broke the law. Trolligarch! Nikita broke the law. Nikita? Yes? I have warned you not to post pictures or photos, or else your candidacy gets invalidated. This is the second offence, Trolligarch. Pak Choi posted one. That doesn't mean you can. Fair enough, sorry. I hereby invalidate the presidential ticket of the MPU. In one fell swoop, the presidential candidate whom 44% of people said they wanted to vote for had been disqualified. Suddenly, this constituency became politically homeless. They now had a binary choice. Do they vote for their ideological arch-nemesis, who had relentlessly attacked their leader throughout the election campaign? Or do they vote for a joke party, whose sole purpose was to go against one of their party's key manifesto pledges, legalizing drugs? A scramble ensued to inherit the MPU mantle. Perhaps Daniel could run as the MPU's presidential candidate instead, and have Nikita run as his vice president. After all, the disqualification only concerned the election of the president. The vice presidency was technically an appointed position. I'd confirmed that this was indeed the case. I was already incredibly reluctant to take any enforcement action against Nikita. There was a reason why I stalled for so long, and the last thing I wanted was an even more drawn-out controversy by enacting harsher sanctions. Allowing Nikita to essentially run by proxy then was the best of both worlds. Allowed the MPU to continue its candidacy, while at the same time showing that there were, in fact, consequences for violating electoral law. But Nikita opted for a different option. 'Tis better to die a lion than become a sheep. Goodbye. Well, that escalated quickly. Will you join us? Yes, I retract my candidacy. Welcome abroad. That's not how democracy works, the vice presidential candidate for the frivolous open bracket joke close bracket party Duracell interjected. I'm gonna watch this thing rip itself apart. Let the chasm widen. But you gotta let me get my popcorn first. And a fire retardant blanket. I put the lifespan at 6 days? Optimism? It's interesting though. This is how dictatorships form. Trolligarch wants to do one thing, the people say no. Then Trolligarch exerts complete and total authority under the guise of a constitution. I feel like there's a new Trump in town. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Enough of his regulatory zeal. It's blatant government control from a control hoarder. Reclaim your basic WhatsApp rights. Post terrible memes. Spell things incorrectly. Send cute pictures of Lex's cat. Reclaim what is yours from the megalomaniac zealot and set yourself free. Together, we shall unite. Viva la revolution, rallied Alex. Our happiness will be destroyed in this dictatorship. Join us now, or forever live under the rule of Trolligarch. I hate how Trolligarch has become a blatant dictator. Rebellion against the order. If only Nikita was still here, he would love this. Down with the law. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. Ludi, don't stand for Trolligarch's doing. Join the revolution. Duracell can merge with us if they accept Queen Ludi and the cabinet. Oh. Okay. Well, give us a moment. Ludi, we at Duracell decree this. If you make an absolute guarantee to uphold the ideals of the revolution and be a worthy warrior in the battle with tyranny, to set those in slavery free, go fight for the rights of the public and uphold a moral code, we will endorse your party's ticket. If at any point you violate our decree, I will have such revenges on you. What they are yet, I know not, but they shall be the terrors of the earth. Then we shall swear loyalty to the cause of the revolution. Duracell officially dissolves. Memes are now legal. We rule the state. The weak democracy has been overthrown. The revolution is over. No, Trolligarch hasn't been overthrown yet. He hasn't responded. He's gone into hiding. If he punishes us, we all strike. Viva la revolution! Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, knife emoji. So, it took less than a week for democracy to be overthrown. The dictator has surfaced. You underestimate the glory of the revolution. I need a photo of someone placing a Burger King crown on my head. This rebellion is illegal. Not anymore. New law. Revolting is legal if you're approved by us. Your law is not legal. Your government has no legitimacy. This isn't my government though. Your government is illegitimate. I once met a traveller from a Vochtig land who said, one vast and powerless WhatsApp leader stand in the Torgy Union. Near them, Daniel, alone, an empty group chat lies, whose logs, constitution and autocratic law tell that the YouTuber well understood, which yet survive, saved in those ancient chats, the hand that legislates and frustrates. And in those old chat logs, these words appear. Trolligarch removed Ludi. Thank you all for participating in this failed experiment. Nobody in the chat remains. In what lacked in those failed politics, populist and lame, this video's memories drag far back. The people clearly could not be trusted with full democracy, I concluded 8 months later. For our self-described communist state to succeed, our second republic needed to have stability first. It needed to have a steward to guide it on the path to good governance. The constitution I drafted stripped all pretenses of democracy. There was a general secretary who led the executive branch, a chairman who led the legislative branch, and a founding father who led the judicial branch. But the general secretary was appointed by the founding father. The chairman was unable to act without the general secretary's consent, and the founding father was me. And in case anyone got any ideas, the first person I appointed as the general secretary was also me. As I rallied my schoolmates to join the burgeoning republic, I knew I had to give some concessions. So, I made one consequential decision. The chairman would be elected by the people.